welcome to 2021. We did it. We lived through 2020. I want to congratulate every single one of you for everything that you had to do in 2020 to get to this moment to say, let's rock 2021. The goal today is to make time to both vision and plan. All right. Because your plan is only going to get you so far if you don't have that bigger vision pulling you, right? There's that saying that says pain pushes until vision pulls. And so it's so important to take time to both vision and plan and to infuse your plan with your vision. And I really see like this stardust image. I really see this as the interface between planning and visioning. And that brings me to planning key number 1, which is to make your vision bigger than your circumstances. Okay, so many of you have been through all kinds of unexpected challenges in 2020. Many of you have been through things you never anticipated you were going to go through in this past year. Many of you have had losses that you're still grappling with. You know, we just hired an amazing new marketing project manager to work for Women Rocking Business. And most of her family lost their homes in the hurricane earlier this year in Alabama. I have 2 friends that have lost loved ones to COVID. So 2020 was no joke, right? It's an opportunity for us to continue to commit to that precious thread of life, every minute being precious. And so the first planning key is to really remember to keep making your vision bigger than your circumstances. When I look back over the choices that I made that have led me to being able to wake up to this incredible organization that I've built, I know in my heart that if you have a thread of vision and you're here, that vision is given to you by something so much bigger. You could be so many other places right now. And here you are turning toward your greater calling. 8 years ago, I was going through the most painful circumstances of my life. I was going through a divorce to a man that I had loved for 8 years. And I thought we were done. I thought he was it. I wonder if any of you can relate to this. You know, you just think, I've got this area of my life handled, right? Whether it's a career that fell apart, a marriage that fell apart. And as I was actually birthing my business into vision and into fruition, I could see that he wasn't up for the level of growth and communication and co-creation that my soul was deeply longing for. He was struggling with addictions. And I knew if I was going to show up and tell women on a daily and weekly basis, you can have your life the way you want it, I knew I was going to have to leave this precious container of marriage that had been my best friend. We had been married for 8 years. We had been together for 10 years. I didn't really understand grief until my marriage fell apart. I felt annihilated. I felt like somebody had taken my umbilical cord and pulled it out of my solar plexus. I woke up in tears and I fell asleep in tears. I walked around during the day with this like kind of inner tube, like hollow feeling in my heart. Can you guys relate to this? Like life teaches us to grieve, right? And in the middle of all of that, I had planned my first retreat in Bali. But my bigger vision was to launch a global women's company where women rocked their businesses using cutting edge tools to create communities online and live. And my vision was that those women business owners would be rocking their businesses and giving back to the world, doing like philanthropic projects together. That was my bigger vision. And it was what I wanted more than anything. But at the time, you guys, I had like 7 clients. I had like $2,000 in the bank, and I was an emotional mess from my divorce. And here I was, like 3 days before my Bali retreat, asking the question, How do I turn this retreat into something meaningful? I'm a mess. And I had had a bigger vision of actually using that Bali retreat to do some kind of fundraising for women in Indonesia. It's legal to hit your wife in Indonesia. Women all over Indonesia and in Bali are struggling with basic human rights. They commonly turn toward prostitution because they don't have any other way to make money when their husbands leave them, when they get kicked out of their homes. Rape and violence are common. And I knew I was going over to Bali with these Western women to have this retreat experience, but I couldn't get it together to create something. I was online looking for organizations we might be able to partner with during the retreat. Nobody was emailing me back. And I remember thinking to myself, sitting alone in my little gray house in Santa Cruz, in my pajamas with snot like caked to my face because I had been crying so much. I'm a big fat failure. If these women coming to this retreat actually knew that I totally didn't have my shit together, they wouldn't even be getting on a plane. But I kept remembering something that my mentor had said to me. She said, all you need is the faith of a mustard seed. Write that down. The faith of a mustard seed. That's from the Bible. And many spiritual texts have some version of that. All you need is a thread of faith. It's even in the Bhagavad Gita, some version of that. The night before I left for Bali, a knock came at my door. This guy, Kyle, who was a friend of a friend, showed up at my door and he said, I heard you're going to Bali tomorrow. I have a friend in Bali who's a woman leader. And she has an organization where she helps women start businesses. She helps women who they already know how to cook. So she helps them become vendors when they leave abusive situations so they don't have to turn toward prostitution. He said, I just got a huge bonus at work and I really want to send Tika this $3,000 in cash. And if I send it through the banks, there's a good chance she won't even get it. True story, right? I mean, can you imagine my face? I looked at him like he had been sent from God. He's like, he pulls a freaking phone out of his pocket. He's like, here's my Bali cell phone. All you have to do is open it up. Tika is in there. You can just call her up, send her a text message. She'll come find you wherever you are and just get her this money. It would mean the world to me. I remember crying and telling him that he was an answered prayer. And I flew over to Bali the next day. I contacted Tika, and it was like I had known Tika forever. We looked in each other's eyes and we both started crying. Tika helps women become food vendors so that they can create their own lives and move into their own apartments when they leave abusive situations. At the moment when I met Tika, she had helped about 36 women, and she needed a structure. She needed a safe home for these women to come while they were figuring out how to get on their own feet. And so Tika and I designed an exercise before my retreat began in Bali. We ended up raising over $12,000 more for Tika. In addition to Kyle's $3,000, now Tika had $15,000, which was able to get her safe house. So here's Tika. And on the next slide, you'll see a picture of our Bali retreat. These are the women who gathered around these Indonesian women who were so brave to not only leave abusive situations themselves, but to support other women to leave those situations and get back on their feet. And these are the women that helped to raise another $12,000 for Tika. And on the next slide, you'll see this is us gathering around as I'm actually presenting Tika with the extra money that we raised. And on the next slide, you'll see the women, the Indonesian women who had launched this organization. I'll never forget the night after that retreat ended, sitting in the retreat center and thinking to myself, I don't have the time to be locked up in grief and wallowing and feeling sorry for myself over my divorce for even one more day. There's work to do. And I was so joyful and I was so filled up from just the level of contribution and connection and inspiration that we were able to create. The 15 women, the 15 Western women that came to that retreat went out and launched businesses. And within 90 days of that retreat, several of them had already created 6-figure launches and group programs of 10 and 15 and 25 new clients. And what I want to say to you is that we don't have time. We don't have time to get stuck in victim stories and in feeling sorry for ourselves. We don't have time to get stuck in the small versions of ourselves that can keep us in a place of forgetting who we really are. Because every single one of you is you're here for the journey, you're here for the contribution. And that's where the bliss comes in. And that's where the ecstasy comes in. When we get to link our arms and do this together, I just want to say thank you to every single one of you. And I really, truly believe there's no accidents. You are here in this moment watching this for a reason, and you're more powerful than you know. And so when you get stuck in asking yourself a question like, why can't it just be easier? Who here has ever asked yourself that question? Why can't this just be easier? I'm going to invite you to switch that question and ask instead, how do I come to know even more of my own strength? Because I can promise you, there are people out there, most people out there are in far worse circumstances than you. If you have the bandwidth, if you have the resources, if you have the capacity to be sitting here in the middle of the week, celebrating your new year and actually having the forethought, actually having the capacity to get to the front side of your circumstances, the front side of your planning, I promise you, you have so much to offer the world, and you have a self-awareness and you have a love to share. And so take a breath into that, because I'm going to ask you to tune into the version of your next vision that scares you a little bit. You know, I had the frickin' gumption in the middle of a divorce with $2,000 in the bank, retired school teacher, mostly broke. I had the gumption to actually ask for the beginnings of a global women's company. As you're thinking about the scariest, most profound, most exciting version of your vision, I want to show you how this turned out for us. So that Bali retreat was the beginning of an era of us doing events, both live events and virtual events, where we partnered with humanitarian causes. This is a picture of me and my friend Lynn Twist with our painted faces when we were down in Ecuador. I've had the honor of raising over $100,000 through Women Rocking Business to support women in the jungle to keep oil companies out of their homes. I've gotten a chance to take my team down to Ecuador and raise money for these women and protect their precious jungle ecosystem. On the next slide, you'll see that we've had a chance to go to Uganda. We've raised at this point, I think, over $90,000 for girls in Uganda. I took my team to Uganda just a year ago, and we just got a thank you note from these girls. We've helped over 1,000 girls get the education that will prevent rape and violence and will set them up to be financially sustainable and financially sovereign. Whatever form of your vision, claim it, name it. If your vision doesn't scare the bejesus out of you, you don't have a vision. Like my friend Reverend Deborah Johnson says, if your vision doesn't freak you out and leave you shaking in your shoes, you do not have a vision, you have a plan. Do you think when I was barely able to pay my rent and, snot-faced, going through my divorce, trying to organize this little philanthropic collaboration in Bali, do you think at that moment that I would have ever known how to go on and build a multi-million-dollar global women's training company? Absolutely not. I had no clue. You don't have to know how your vision is going to come to fruition. All you have to do is have the faith of a mustard seed. So go ahead and post whatever scariest, most tangible thing about your vision that you can possibly muster right now. Post it in the comments thread so that we can actually hold your vision with you, because there's something about being visible with your vision. Happy New Year, everyone. We have a new year. It's not 2020 anymore. It's 2021. Let's have some fun. Bye, everyone. And if you got value from this episode, I invite you to hit the subscribe button so that we can get you weekly business trainings in your inbox to help you grow your impact and your income the women's way. Head over into the Women Rocking Business Sisterhood Facebook group and introduce yourself there, because women go so much further when we go together. Just click the button to subscribe, and we will see you on the other side.